Right, hello everyone. Can everyone hear me okay? Perfect, right. Thank you so much for coming along or tuning in this evening for those watching at home for our very first Dacorum Climate Action Network annual event. We're very excited to have you here. Before we get started, I just need to run through some quick housekeeping. So we are streaming the speakers to people at home, so please bear with us if we have any technical issues, but I think we're doing okay. To help keep everyone safe tonight, please ensure that you keep your masks on to keep a safe distance from others, and to use the various hand sanitizer points as well. The speakers will be taking their masks off, as otherwise the microphone doesn't pick us up, so don't tell me off. There aren't any planned fire drills, so if the alarm does go off, please make your way out safely via the exits. Toilets are located on the ground and first floor. This has been a common query, and I've been advised that the best way to say it is follow the way through to the lifts, and it's around the corner from there. Please help yourself to the buffet and the drinks throughout the night, but please don't bring any food or drink up into this main room. And we ask that you please return all cups to the used cups table when you're finished and put napkins in the bins. For the Q&A sessions tonight, we'll be using Slido. You should have your A5 guides for the event, which has the Slido app, or you have the link in your email as well. And we've got to do questions that way, just so that there's a fair opportunity for people to ask questions, whether they're listening at home or in the atrium or at our stalls as well. So the way that you access that is you go onto the app and you can enter the code #DCAN21, and then from there you can either submit or upvote questions as well, and those with the most votes will be prioritised. You may have spotted we have a photographer called Amy wandering around tonight taking audience photos, which we use to promote the network. If you'd like to pose for any, then I'm sure she'll be very happy for that. We've got lots of pledge cards outside on the balcony. If you'd like to take any photos yourself, please put it on social media with the #DecorumCan. Or alternatively, if you don't wish to have your photo taken, please kindly let Amy know. And finally, to confirm, the slides will be circulated to all attendees after the event as well, so don't need to make any notes or anything. Right, without any further ado, we have a variety of wonderful speakers lined up for everyone tonight who are all involved in environmental projects around Decorum. To kick things off, I will now pass over to our council leader, Councillor Andrew Williams. Thank you.
Top seats. Good evening. I feel as if I'm repeating Mel's introduction, but to welcome you here this evening, but whether you're here in person or whether you're tuning in virtually, welcome to our first Dacorum Climate Action Network event. Time to coincide with COP26, and obviously that's the main headline of the week, and it's a very important event for us, for our communities, and for the whole world. And I hadn't realised that COP meetings have been taking place since 1995, and hence I wondered why we had COP26. But probably of all those COP meetings that have taken place, the Paris one 5 years ago is probably the one that sticks in most people's minds. I don't know whether it takes place annually, but certainly the Paris one was the one that set sort of targets for reductions in CO2 emissions, etc. And most countries around the world signed up to it. I think many people, I think there'll be a very different view about whether people have stuck to that or whether the real aspirations of the Paris Agreement have been stuck to or reached or even taken seriously. But I think we all agree that the time has come where those things have to be taken more seriously. It's good to see that agreements are being reached at Glasgow around things like methane emissions, deforestation, and it will be interesting to see what comes out of the rest of the fortnight. I think most of the world leaders have probably now flown back home, left it to all of their representatives to agree the way forward. But what is absolutely certain, whether it's us individually, us as a community, us as a council, as a country, and as a world, that we have to take these issues more seriously, and that there has to be a real effort to ensure that what's agreed this week, next week, and going forward is actually implemented. And I suppose it is disappointing for challenge for some to realise that some of the biggest polluters in the world are not actually there even to be talking about it, and how seriously will they take it. But at the same time, for those of us in countries like ours, where we sometimes feel frustrated that what can we say to our residents, to our citizens, that the differences they make when they look at it, and you point around the world and say, but other countries are not making the same effort. Well, we've got to start somewhere, so we may as well start with our own actions and our own activities, and just hope that inspires others to follow suit. So this is the first of Dacorum's Climate Action Network's meetings. I'm hoping that it turns into a regular event, an annual event, and you find it interesting and inspiring. I know that most people in this room are already really very attuned to the issues of environmental awareness, and it's not the people in here that we need to be convincing, it's our communities out there. But that's something that each and every one of us can do, both individually and together. And with that, I'd like to hand over to Mel, who will take you through a little bit about what Decorum's doing. Thank you. Back to you, Mel. I'll go and sit down there. Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. Right, so hello again, everyone. Tonight I wanted to share with you the information regarding the borough's emissions and a few things that we've been doing so far as a council on our climate and ecological emergency work. So we'll start things off with looking at the carbon emissions for the borough. So all greenhouse gas emissions are measured in equivalent tonnes of carbon emissions, which is shown here as CO2e. There are also direct emissions and indirect emissions, depending on who is in control of the energy use. The government releases emissions data each year, which can be broken down by local authority regions. Due to the complexity of this work, the most recent information is always a couple of years old and focuses on direct emissions only. The most recent data we have is 2019, and the 2020 data should be available to us in June. This graph provides a breakdown of these emissions. So as shown, Dacorum as a whole borough was responsible for 624,000 tonnes of carbon emissions in 2019. 43% of this was from transport, 34% came from our homes, and 23% came from industry and commercial activities. The UK government set a target of being net zero by 2050. However, it is the journey for how we reach this target which is as crucial as meeting the target itself. This is because of our carbon budget versus our total emissions. This graph demonstrates our borough's overall emissions since 2010. In blue, you can see all of our historical emissions. And as you can see, there has been a gradual decline over the past decade, although this is mostly due to the national grid becoming greener rather than our own actions. The two lines on this graph show us two different paths for reaching net zero by 2050. The red line shows that if Dacorum reduces emissions at a steady linear rate, the borough will produce over 9.5 million tonnes of CO2 in total between now and 2050. However, climate experts have calculated that to keep in line with the UN Paris Agreement, Dacorum must not produce more than 4.1 million tonnes of CO2. These experts suggest a rapid decline to achieve this, which is shown by the green line on the graph. By not acting fast enough, we will effectively produce more than double our borough's carbon budget and break the Paris Agreement. This emphasises the need to act rapidly in the coming years. As you can see by the graph, we need to essentially halve our borough's current annual emissions by 2025. It is likely that later this year, when we get the data for 2020, we will see a steeper decline due to the effects of the pandemic. It is crucial, however, that we use this opportunity to learn how we can live differently and not simply return to normal. In 2019, Dacorum Borough Council declared a climate emergency, and as part of this, we pledged to become net zero as an organisation by 2030, work towards having a net zero housing stock by 2050, and support the borough in reaching net zero as quickly as possible. To start our journey, we firstly needed to calculate our organisational footprint, and so we worked with a consultant to help us with this. We discovered that we represent less than 1% of the borough's total emissions. This taught us that we will primarily need to focus on supporting the wider borough, as much as we can, in reducing the remaining 99% of emissions. We have created an action plan, and to help emphasise the importance of this in all that we do, we have also made the climate and ecological emergency one of the council's 6 corporate priorities. We also became the first borough council in the UK to achieve a silver carbon literate organisation award due to delivering climate training to over 70 members of staff and councillors. As a borough council, we have limited control, especially as the county council owns a larger amount of land and is responsible for more important services such as transport, which have larger emissions. However, we do have a number of spheres of influence for how we can help to support the decarbonisation of the borough. We can have a direct influence in some areas, such as housing retrofits, and we are also uniquely able to influence other areas outside of our direct control through funding and policy, as well as having indirect impacts locally and nationally. For this reason, we will focus on a variety of external schemes, especially those that work with businesses, community groups and individuals. We want to explore ways in which we can engage with and educate people, enable change and lead by example. It is crucial to work collaboratively to deliver effective sustainability work. One of the ways we can have an indirect local impact is working with other local councils. Decorum is part of the Hertfordshire Climate Change and Sustainability Partnership. This was formed in 2020 and consists of all 10 districts and boroughs, the Hertfordshire County Council and the Hertfordshire Local Enterprise Partnership. HCCSP works collaboratively to identify joint work programmes on climate change, as well as wider sustainability and environmental issues throughout Hertfordshire. It does this via a number of subgroups focused on action planning and implementation in key areas. These are carbon reduction, transport, biodiversity, water sustainability and behaviour change. Our council's approach to the climate and ecological emergency work has broadly been defined as discover, define, deliver. For the past year, we have primarily been working with a variety of consultants as part of our discovery phase to gather experts' technical data to help us ensure that the actions that we plan will help us to lower our emissions as efficiently as possible. We have gathered information on a range of things that I'll come on to in a second. We will use this information to feed into our existing action plan to help us shape short, medium and long-term targets, whilst also applying the carbon management hierarchy of avoid, reduce, replace and finally offset. Our action plan is loosely broken into 4 areas of sustainable transport, energy use in buildings, biodiversity and sustainable communities. We will review this action plan regularly to reflect changing technologies, ambitions, funding opportunities, and so on. We expect there will be commitments made by world leaders over the next couple of weeks in COP26, which will impact what work we are able to do. As previously mentioned, transport is responsible for 43% of the borough's greenhouse gas emissions. To reduce these emissions, reducing car use and increasing active travel, such as walking and cycling, will be crucial, as can be shown by this sustainable transport hierarchy. From 2030, the sale of new petrol and diesel vehicles will be banned. As such, one of our key focuses in this area has been around the transition to electric vehicles. We worked with a sustainability consultant to help us understand the scale of the challenge and how we as a borough council can support this change over the next few years. We have learned that by 2030, we are forecast to have over 30,000 electric vehicles within Decorum. We currently have 1,000. Over a third of Decorum households, which is around 25,000 homes, do not have a driveway or a garage to install home charge points. These are shown on blue dots on this map of the borough. To meet charging demand, the borough will need approximately 700 publicly accessible charge points. To meet these needs, there will need to be a range of different charging methods throughout the borough, which will require collaborative effort, as shown by this charging hierarchy. Decorum is currently preparing an application for government funding so that we can roll out more charge points in our council-owned car parks and replace the old units that are frequently having issues. We have also worked with Energy Saving Trust to provide us with a breakdown of the estimated energy performance certificate rating of every home in the borough. We now know that nearly 2/3 of Decorum's homes are EPC D or below. The Domestic Minimum Energy Efficiency Standard, or MEES, regulations will increase to an EPC energy rating of D by 2025 and C by 2030. So there is a lot of work that needs to be done in this area. We will be working to retrofit our own housing stock and focusing on a fabric-first approach, which is essentially looking to insulate homes first before making any other improvements, such as solar panels. We hope that the government will release more funding to help homeowners with this. Later this month, we will have an exciting update for all of our residents to help them save money and the planet. I will send an email out to everyone that's attended with a link to this if you're interested. We are the first local authority in the UK to have partnered with the Energy Saving Trust, the UK's leading trusted expert organisation regarding home energy, to launch a free energy efficiency app for homeowners. Decorum has taken the lead on this on behalf of HCCSP, and so not only is this a great opportunity for Dacorum residents, but for everyone who lives in Hertfordshire. The unique, easy-to-use app gives a virtual tour around a typical home, with Energy Eddie asking questions and giving advice along the way. Based on the answers provided, quick and easy, low or no-cost actions are suggested to help save you money on your energy bills and reduce your carbon footprint too. There is even a running total in the corner with how much money per year could be saved. Users simply download the free app, which is available for both Apple and Android users, and put in their postcode as the activation codes get started. Downloading and using the app will take less than 10 minutes, and once you are done, you can have a tailored summary report emailed to you, so you have all of the advice available to easily refer to. On average, the savings is around £75 a year. As a third of Dacorum's greenhouse gas emissions come from our homes, we are hoping that lots of small changes such as these will add up to a big win for reducing our borough's emissions. To help support biodiversity in the borough, we have taken a range of actions. For example, this year we have planted over 1,300 trees, and we have a target of planting over 5,000 in the next 5 years. We are increasing the number of wildflower areas and bug hotels and information signs around the borough. We have also worked with consultants to obtain tree stock reports, which will help us understand carbon sequestration even further. Recently, to celebrate Biodiversity Day, we gave away over 1,000 free packets of wildflower seeds to residents and primary schools, and we also ran a school competition to win an insect sit and study centre. 97% of wildflower meadows have been lost in the UK since the 1930s, and so encouraging residents to grow them at home is important to help support our pollinators. And finally, the reason that we are all here today is to help us create more sustainable communities. So we have launched the Dacorum Climate Action Network. We wanted to create a network to help bring together individuals and organisations to think global and act local, to help tackle the climate and ecological emergency. The aim of the network is to help facilitate meaningful change by providing a platform to support, educate, encourage and enable changes in their everyday lives. The network is aimed at all types of organisations, including businesses, community groups, charities, schools, town and parish councils. The network will provide regular environmental information and advice via a range of sources and is free and open to everyone who lives, works and plays in Dacorum and pledges to take positive environmental actions. Joining the network is simple through a short online registration form. So if you haven't already done so, please do sign up. There is a link on your A5 flyers and encourage others to sign up too. The network was only launched this September, but we already have over 140 individuals signed up. And as you can see from the map, we have good representation from all areas so far. We also have nearly 30 organisations signed up. So a big thank you to those of you who are here today. As an additional example of some of the other community work we have done recently, alongside our Workplace Services team, in September we launched Monsters on a Mission to help children across Dacorum understand the link between food waste and climate change. Each primary school classroom was provided with a caddy, a sheet of stickers, and an information pack which explained that they had to feed their monster food waste to help save the planet. Alongside this, we launched a photo competition for the best monster, and schools sent in their photos and these were put up on social media during Halloween week, with the most popular photo winning a prize for their school. We had so many amazing and imaginative entries, and the winner was Cadai from Yew Tree School with over 200 votes. To help engage with a different audience across Dacorum and tie in with COP26, we are also putting on a month-long Climate and Ecological Emergency art exhibition. The exhibition is made up of art, photos and poems that have been submitted by local residents. Lots of these are outside in the balcony on display today. There will also be an information stand where people can learn more about positive environmental actions they can take. We hope that the exhibition will encourage local people to reflect on the challenges that lie ahead of us, but also provide an opportunity to learn about the available solutions and inspire people to get involved in local climate action and improving biodiversity. The exhibition is being held in the Dacorum Creatives Gallery in the Marlow Shopping Centre from this Friday through until the end of November, so peak Christmas shopping time for hitting lots of audiences. Please do go and check it out if you're in town. Last year, we launched our first Green Community Grant Scheme to enable local groups to take environmental action. The funding had to be used specifically for projects that would deliver the Dacorum Can aims of think global and act local. Ideas could include anything that would help to reduce carbon emissions in the borough, improve sustainability, or increase biodiversity. And projects also needed to engage with the community. We had a pot of £10,000 available, with a maximum of £2,000 to go to any one group. In total, we had 17 applications and were able to fund 7 of these projects. There are several of our grant winners here this evening, and we will be hearing presentations from 2 of them later on tonight, so that you can hear about the exciting things that they have accomplished. We are also excited to announce that this week we have launched the second round of the Green Community Grant Scheme. It's live now and ready to accept applications from local groups on our website. Building on the success of last year, there are 2 main changes. We have doubled our pot of money to 20,000, and we will now be able to fund at a maximum of 3,000 per project. We hope that this will mean we'll be able to help out even more local groups. The closing date for applications is Sunday 16th of January. If you have any ideas for a project that you would like to run past us before submitting an application, we're always happy to help, so please just send us an email. I'll now hand over to Emma, who is one of last year's grant winners, who will tell us all about the project work that she is doing in the community.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for everyone for coming this evening. I'm absolutely delighted to be here this evening to talk about our Green Community Grant project, Growing Wilder in Decorum, which was based at Chaulden Allotments. So a little introduction, my name is Emma Matthars. I'm the Engagement Coordinator for Herts and Middlesex Wildlife Trust. I live in Hemel Hempstead and I'm absolutely passionate about growing food, the environment and the benefits of being outdoors. Last year, the Wildlife Trust launched a new concept called Team Wilder. And the idea behind this was that the Wildlife Trust as a movement wanted to put about nature's recovery, but realised they couldn't do it by themselves. So what they realised was that they needed to have individuals and communities taking action for nature. And the evidence is that if 1 in 4 people take a positive action, we reach a tipping point, and it's a magical moment where the social behaviour means that everyone will take on some part of that movement. Sorry, bear with me. So I put forward a project which would hopefully encapsulate the Team Wilder concept, but do it very much on a local scale at my own allotment. So I would put forward the project, which was successful, and the project has 3 aims. So the first aim is to increase the plot holders' awareness of wildlife and to very much encourage them to take an action, of which there are many types of action that can be taken, which I'll come to a bit later. The other idea was to support new plot holders and to instill a good practice from the outset, because actually new plot holders find it very hard to take on an allotment. It's a big commitment, and we really wanted to be able to encourage them to take it on and keep it. And then thirdly was to foster a greater sense of community within the plot holders. And actually our allotment has always had a really lovely community feel to it, but we can do more and we can bring more people. So taking a little step back, if you're not familiar with the area, where are Chaulden allotments? They're very well hidden. If you didn't know they were there, you'd never find them. It's very much in an urban area, just outside Boxmoor, about 10 minutes from Hemel Hempstead rail station. It's the third largest allotment plot in Decorum, about 2.8 hectares, and we have 160 individual plots there, so probably around about 100 plot holders on site. We're completely surrounded by houses. There's a small school at one end, but generally it's people's back gardens that back onto the sites. It's quite an urban environment. So what do we use allotments for? Well, as expected, growing food. And these are a couple of pictures of other plot holders and their harvests from this year. So as an absolute joy in growing your own food, you're reducing the food miles of food being shipped from overseas. You're saving money, and you know exactly what chemicals have been used, hopefully none, on that food. So a very healthy way of eating. Allotments are also used for well-being. Certainly during lockdown, they were an absolute haven. I don't have a garden, I live in a flat. Absolutely brilliant place to go and actually have a bit of outdoor space. You could socialise safely with your neighbouring plot holders on your own plots. And I find it very useful just to have some headspace. So that certainly helped with my lockdown anxiety. And nurturing plants is known to make you feel calmer. The benefits of outdoor exercise. There we have my husband doing some work, which is nice to see. So half an hour per day at the allotment will burn between 120 and 165 calories. So some real good health benefits. And then lastly, for me, it's all about the wildlife. I probably spend more time looking at wildlife than I actually do growing plants, but there we go. So plot holders are very tuned to the seasons. You know, we grow seasonally, we see the seasons change, and we witness the behaviour of the birds and the insects and the visitors to our plots. And I really think that that shows that we have a great appreciation of the importance of the allotment as a safe space for wildlife. So on our plots, we have, well, we know we have foxes, frogs, newts, slowworms, voles. What we found, and I think we're fairly sure we don't have any of, is hedgehogs. And that's really sad. So something we'd certainly like to look to redress. So what have we been doing as part of our project? Well, we're becoming more sociable. So we have a Facebook group. You're very welcome to join it. It is open to anyone. You don't have to have a plot there. But if you're interested in finding out more about growing, seeing people's successes, people post photos, recipes, we share ideas, we share equipment. Please do join us. As soon as lockdown finished, we had 2 plant sales. These were run by everyone on the plot. They were open to the public as well to come along and buy the excess plants that we'd grown from seed. And that was very popular and a lovely way to meet each other. We've also been running regular barbecues all through the summer. We've been doing one a month. A few hardy folk met up last Saturday for the last one of the season. So that's been another way of increasing our community. We've also been making space for wildlife. These are not all on my plots. So we've been putting in ponds, just a very small space. As soon as you put a pond in an allotment, the frogs all come in. It's wonderful. We've been building different habitats. I don't know if you can see on there, but underneath that B hotel, it says B&B and vacancies. I was absolutely delighted when I came across that, and it's not on my plot. And we've also been planting for pollinators, which again is incredibly important. We've also been bringing in the experts. Working for the Wildlife Trust, it's brilliant because I know exactly who I can ask to bring in. And there we've got a picture of Dave, who's one of our people and wildlife officers. He showed us around, had a little bit of advice about ponds. He's an amphibian and reptile expert, and there he is holding a slow worm that he found underneath a board in one of the pots. We also invited Rob, who's one of our volunteers. He's a wildlife gardening expert. He came along to one of the plant sales and was very happy to talk to anyone and give advice. And then a little bit later on in the summer, we ran a bat walk. And again, that was open to anyone who wanted to join. We had some local residents as well join us, and we had a little walk around the allotment just as it got dark, which was quite good fun. We also have been trying to engage the local community, which has been brilliant, and Dacorum Borough Council held their Fun Palace at the start of October. We had an open day on Saturday where we had a wildlife expert there and myself. We were there to allow anyone to come on in, find out about growing your own food, find out about wildlife, take away some ideas that you could do at home or in your garden. And as a direct result of that, Chaulden Infant School came and visited the following week, and there were people there to show them round, and we're going to be talking to them more about bringing them back next year and perhaps do some quite exciting things with the children, which would be fantastic. So overall, we've been having quite a lot of fun, really. That's what allotments are about, so making friends and making connections, which has been absolutely fantastic. So the next step of our project is to encourage as many plot holders as possible to take the Wilder Veg Pledge. I want them to be taking an action. So it's an action for wildlife on their plots. And this will be a little plaque that they can display to advertise to the rest of the plot holders, I've taken an action for wildlife. So we've already got quite a lot of the plot holders already signed up for that. And I'm hoping that this will actually start some more conversations. Some of the ideas that we've had for taking this pledge would be to create spaces for wildlife. You could do things like putting up a bird box, put up a bug hotel, build a deadwood pile, but also some of the other things like reducing the use of chemicals on your plot, going peat free, collecting rainwater, incredibly important, reducing, recycling and reusing equipment, and also sharing our excess crops and sharing our knowledge, which is the most important thing. So I hope I've inspired you, and now it's your turn. So if you want to create a wilder decorum, which I think we all do, start having conversations, have conversations within your family, at your work, in your community. Talk to Melanie, apply for a Green Community Grant. It's been absolutely brilliant on our allotments, and we've really enjoyed running the project. And we're only about halfway through, so we've got lots more to do. You know, take an action. You know, there's a real positivity between just doing one action yourself. And if you want to talk to the Trust about taking any sort of wilder actions, I'll be around. I've got colleagues here from Wildlife Trust as well. I'll be very happy to talk to you about that. So thank you very much, everyone, for listening. And I will pass you over to. Thank you.
Hey, hi everyone, my name is Nevin. I'm from Affinity Water. For those of you in the room tonight, I'm here with my colleague Stuart Stevenson. Apologies to those of you online that I am here with another person. I work in the demand management team at Water, and the purpose of the demand management team is to manage the demand of our customers. We're very passionate, we're not very creative with naming. So what does that actually mean? Well, the Environment Agency has classified the southeast of England stressed region, and as a water industry, all water companies have committed public interest net zero by 2030. So what that means in practice is we can't sustain the amount of water that we're providing to our customers at the moment, and we need their help in order to reduce the amount of water that they're wasting. We don't want to change our customers' behaviours, we're just saying that wastage is no longer sustainable on our. We've got a load of different programs and projects that we're working on as part of the demand management, and we'd be happy to talk to you about any of them this evening. For those of you online, if you want to go onto our website or contact myself, victoria.nevin@affinity.uk, we'd be happy to provide you with more information about any of the projects we're working on. These include installing water efficiency devices in our social housing projects, which Stuart can talk to you about. We provide home water efficiency checks where technicians visit your property completely free of charge and install meters. We've also got a really exciting new innovation project that's just started, and water neutrality. The purpose of this is to make sure that all of the water being used at 3 trial sites is either recycled or offset, so that the total water use in the region is the same before the new development as it was. After the new development as it was before, apologies. But what I'm here to talk to you about today is one of our campaigns called SOS, which stands for Save Our Streams, why this is important for business. So our mission as a company is to provide sustainable, high quality water and work together with our community to safeguard the local environment. And as I said, this is getting more and more challenging. So I don't know if anybody knows this, but chalk streams are one of the rarest resources that we have in the local region. 85% of the world's chalk streams, and there's only about 220 in the world, are in the UK. And of that 85%, most of them are in Affinity Network region. Chalk streams are 10 times rarer than the Bengal tiger, and they provide a fantastic natural habitat for local wildlife. They're brilliant eco. And we've had feedback directly from customers say that during lockdown they're areas of peace and tranquility, so areas of outstanding natural beauty that they want to protect and maintain. As a hyper local issue, I believe the 2 closest to our region this evening are the Gade and the Bulbun, but as I say, there's absolutely loads across the network area, and we think of them as very valuable resources. As a company, Affinity Water have committed to ending abstractions from chalk streams, which means that the water that you are provided in your homes is not going to come from features that we save these rare and precious resources. But in order to do that, we need our customers to use less water because we can't provide the resources we need to all our customers at the current levels of demand. So our campaign is called Save Our Streams, and we're hoping that by linking the outcome of sustainability to the campaign, that we can really sort of make our customers understand where their water use is coming from and what it means to us as a company to be able to provide them with these resources and tap into a passion for sustainability that we know a lot of our share with us. So what we get people to do is to access our website, saveourstreams.co.uk, sign up to receive water-saving devices. You can also make pledges online about the type of commitment that you're going to make as an individual or a household in order to save more water. And there are challenges that you can, as engaging as possible. What we're looking for is as many people as sign up, and we're also hoping for engage their whole family with it because, as you can see, it's bright colours. There's a lot of material on there for kids, so we're really hoping to get the whole family engaged with this campaign. And I'm really hoping that some of you might have seen the stuff that we're doing as part of this campaign. So there's absolutely loads of content online on our Facebook, our LinkedIn, or our Instagram pages. We did a comedy gig in a stream that was called Stand Up for the Streams, headlined by Sandy Tostick, and we had a series of other great comedians that attended. We've had a giant bathtub touring city centres in our region. It was in Hemel Hempstead on the 2nd and 3rd of July, so some of you might have been able to see it physically. And we've also been on the news, we've been on radio. We're really just trying to get the message out there as broadly why this is important, of the region. If you have not seen any of our activities, which I really hope some of you have, I'd encourage you to go back and look at the materials that we already have online, and also sign up to receive invitations because all the upcoming activities. What we are looking for, sorry, the click-throughs on this are not being helpful to me. What we are looking for is as many people to sign up as possible. Obviously, the amount of people to sign up directly equates to saved across our network. And we've seen some fantastic results today. So our target originally were 100,000 people sign up, and we've absolutely smashed that. We're actually at 157. Just to put that into context, that means that 10% of our customers have signed up to do this. So we're incredibly excited that customers value in our journey and that people want to join vision of saving more water. But what we actually need from you guys this evening is if you could all go and sign up yourselves, if you could become brand ambassadors to your family and get them to sign up, and if you could follow and share the social media content, that would be absolutely fantastic, because the purpose, as I say, of this campaign is to get our customers their water wastage. If we all do that collectively, we, Affinity Water as a company, commit to reducing unsustainable abstractions from chalk streams, and it will also impact the amount of embedded carbon in our operations, because the production of less water means less carbon. So that's why we're trying to do what we're doing. We've got absolutely loads of other exciting initiatives that we've got running at the moment, and as I say, if you're here in person, you can talk to yourself and Stuart, and if not, do feel free to or email. But for the moment, I believe we're now moving on to a session where you can. Thank you very much.
Thank you for submitting questions, everyone. Not done this before, so this is interesting. So let's have a read of the first ones. Oh, good question. I'm not sure if I have the answer to this. I might have to leave it to come up. The first question is, Herts County Council have £140 million invested in fossil fuels via their pension funds. How can Dacorum Borough Council put pressure on them to divest? Sorry, I'm massively putting you on the spot.
So,
I signed the petition.
To influence the county pension scheme in a more direct way than the leader of Borough Council. It is an issue which the County Council Pensions Committee is aware of and looking at this issue. We actually have a working session on Thursday morning. One of the issues under discussion. Hertfordshire is also part of what is known as the Access Network, which is 11 councils from the Isle of Wight up to North. All together, their resources in terms of investment. This is an issue which so it's something on our radar, but we are constantly reminded as members and chairing that committee that we have to keep track of our overriding fiduciary duty, which is best returns for our pension fund members, and we have to balance those two things off together. But it is something we are aware of.
Sorry for putting you on the spot, thank you.
Right.
These keep stopping and changing depending on votes, so bear with me. Alex, I don't know if Alex is in the room. What support is available to local businesses to measure their emissions and set a net zero target and take action? We actually have a speaker on about that in the next session, so everyone stay tuned and that will get answered. What a plug. Another one from Daniel. Transport is Dacorum's biggest contribution to climate change. Recently, I was walking through Hemel Town Centre, and there are many signs saying that cycling is banned. In many European cities, cycling is encouraged and bikes are made available. So for this one, I would say that we have recently just put in a bid, we don't know if it's been successful yet, for a campaign with the slogan, "Don't be idle, walk, scoot, cycle." And so hopefully, if we do get that bid, which is the air pollution funding bid, then we will be able to be doing a really large scale campaign. If we don't get the funding, it'll be a small scale, large campaign. And we'll be trying to work with mostly primary schools, because it's lots of parents doing the school drop off and then idling whilst they're dropping the children off. And so as part of that, if we do get the funding, it would be trying to provide them with more bike racks and scooting racks and things like that. I do appreciate that Hemel Town Centre is blocked off for cyclists. I believe that was to do with antisocial behaviour, so unfortunately I can't comment further on that one. Hopefully that answers that. Let me look at the others. Yeah, no, I'm just checking. Where's the next section? I need to just remind myself of the times we had. Okay, 5 minutes. Okay. Sorry. So, oh, here we go. What is the target date for ending abstraction from the chalk streams? That's a question for yourself. 2030. There's one that's just come in. Is Dacorum Borough Council electrifying its own vehicle fleet? We do have an ambition to do that by 2030, but because we have our own waste vehicles, it will depend on what happens with hydrogen, because it might be that by the time we buy them, that hydrogen would be the better way to do it instead of electrifying, but we would be decarbonising our fleet. Can the council set EPC-A standards for all new homes? It's easier to build a new energy efficient home. This would help raise the aspirations of residents. We can set standards for the homes that we build. It's more, I hope I'm right saying this, that the government, they set the MEES regulations, which are the baseline. As I mentioned in my presentation, they are set for EPC-C by 2030. As water suppliers are legally obliged to provide water and associated services for any new build, how do you aim to reduce the stress and sustain your legal obligations to the planned housing as directed by government policy? Anything you comment on that one? Sorry, it's a bit of a long one. Yes.
No problem at all. So, yeah, brilliant. Cool. Okay, so yes, as water companies, we are legally obliged to supply all households in our region, and we're not allowed to shut off any residential property supply. The aim of our innovation project is to make all of the 3 trials water neutral. So what that would mean in practice is installing water recycling technologies on residential properties, so that we use rainwater recycling or we use rainwater harvesting in order to recycle the water in the property. And then we offset also, so that would be large-scale infrastructure as part of commercial properties that are in the same region. Commercial properties like schools, leisure facilities, etc. So basically what that means is it offsets the total usage in the region. We would not be looking to minimise or in any way reduce the amount that was being provided to any individual home. It's just about how we manage our network, but at a hyper-local level.
Thank you. There's one last question, just because we're on 7:35, but you might be able to answer this yes or no. Question for Affinity Water: is there any sewage outflow into the chalk streams? It's a very topical question.
That is a very topical question. Affinity Water is a water-only provider. The sewerage companies that operate in this area are Thames, Anglian, and Southern. I don't want to get my colleagues at other water companies into trouble, and I'm sorry that I'm unable to comment on that.
Very nicely answered. Thank you so much, everyone, for your questions. We've now hit the time for the break. So